Sienna made me a mom. Asher made me a confident mom.
Oh, I love that.
Getting to like put my skills to the test with the second one, I was like, you know what? I do know what I'm doing. Okay. Like I do have this under control. Oh, I do remember this. Oh, I just felt so much more confident in myself as a mom. And that was like the greatest gift that anybody could have given me. Before we get started this episode, I wanted to highlight this awesome podcast called the Go Diaper Free podcast. It's hosted by Andrea Olson and Nicole Cheever, and it's about elimination communication. Have you heard about this, Casey? Because I feel like you might be into this type of alternative
in
potty
like
training.
The depths of my alternative algorithm Instagram. So it's an infant potty hygiene, and you can have your baby go to the bathroom as early as birth. So you're essentially potty training them from birth. So it might sound a little out there to some people, but babies do have a natural instinct to potty and to keep themselves clean.
Right. I remember specifically the first time I heard about it, same thing on Instagram. God, the information we get there. But I did think it was really cool. And like when you think about it, it kind of makes sense, but it's just weird concept to think about this little tiny baby going on the potty.
But it's an industry. I mean, how much money do you spend on diapers and wipes and diaper cream and potty training? I mean, it's a business.
Yeah. So the Go Diaper Free podcast gives you all these different tips and tricks about it, helps you troubleshoot so that you can respond to babies' needs and change fewer diapers. I just think it's interesting to even listen to just gain a different perspective on the whole thing. So it's the world's first official elimination communication podcast. It's solely dedicated to this. They cover any and all types of things around it. If it's totally new to you, and just a few episodes that would be great for starting points. They told us that episode 232 is for beginners and episode 88 is about at what age can I potty train my child. So make sure you check those episodes to get started. So just go search Go Diaper Free podcast in your podcast player and subscribe. And Casey, you'll have to keep us posted on whether Miss Hosmer is getting potty trained right from the get-go.
Maybe I'll just do both of them at one time.
There we go.
Are you eating lactation cookies?
I'm not eating lactation cookies, but I'll tell you what, I had a banging recipe for ones when I was breastfeeding that I loved. And I kind of wanted to start them up again because they're such an easy thing to keep in the fridge. And if you just don't put in what was the thing that I put in there?
Isn't it like sunflower or like something? Or is that for mastitis?
No, I forget what the thing is. Gosh, I'm like so far out of the game now. It was like brewer's yeast or something that I used to put in there. But if you don't put that in, it's still a really good thing. It was like oats and honey and peanut butter and chocolate chips. It's delicious.
I want to say, I'm trying to remember what the brand was that I had when we were in Boston, but they were gas. They were so good. Like I let Eric try them one day.
Are you Gen Z? What do you mean gas?
No,
what does that mean?
Isabel says that they're so good. But I let Eric try them one time and he's like, am I going to like get like an estrogen boost from these? Like, can I actually eat these?
Yes,
and I was like,
Eric.
yeah. So
absolutely.
So he would like eat them every night with me. I'm like, did you eat my lactation cookies?
So if you didn't get it by now, guess what we're talking about today?
Milk makers.
Boobies.
That's what it's called. Milk makers, lactation cookie bites, chocolate salted caramel cookies. They probably have a lot of like natural flavor in them and they're probably bad. And pregnant times 2, Casey would not do them. But yes, we're talking about
I would say that's an industry that I had no idea existed prior to having kids. Like one of the 40 industries I didn't know about, but like the whole industry about lactation products. Like, oh my God. There's so many
lactation specialists that come to your house. How about that?
Right. That's a whole career. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole underground thing, basically. What was your perception of breastfeeding prior to having children? Like, I know that there are some people that think it's gross and it's not for them and they don't want it. Or some people spend their whole life saying, I can't wait until I get to breastfeed a baby. Like, where were you on the spectrum?
I was kind of selfish with it. Here's what I don't like. I don't want to be out to dinner with a bunch of couples and like the woman like whips her boob out. Like if you're going to put a shawl on and, feed the baby, I am not bothered at all. Our friends, the Moustakis, Steph, she has 4. And we were out at Nobu in Malibu last year. And, she's so like such a lady about it and so sweet, but like so unbothered. And I'm like, you're such a boss. Like, she's just like, has her like, like has her like shawl, puts it on, pops the baby on. Like, she's the best. And I'm just like, I want to be you. There's something so primal about it. And there's something so, this is what we do. This is our job. Yeah. This is what we were built for. And it's such a sense of purpose. So that always intrigued me. But I always had this vision of being at a baseball game and it being 80 degrees and me having to feed my son, and there just be like milk drenching my shirt. And I'm just like,
right,
this is my life, So I kind of was like, but then the other side is, do I really want to be lugging formula and trying to keep it cold at a baseball game? My husband retired anyway, so it didn't matter. But the nice thing about it is you don't have to bring
this will
any
be a
stuff.
This will be a different experience for you this time with this new baby, because that isn't going to be part of the equation.
Right. But I definitely want to try. And we were actually talking about this before we got on. One thing that I wanted to unpack on this episode was with Jack. I know you're supposed to pump every 3 hours if you're going to go that route to try to increase the supply. And I did the lactation specialist and I was eating the cookies. I was really good at eating the cookies. And I would miss pumps. I had my alarm set. I would miss pumps and chalk it up to, oh, I have to get a shower. Oh, I'm too tired. Or, oh, I have to do the dishes. Or, oh, I have to do this. And I was self-sabotaging because I was like, if I just don't produce it, then I don't have to do it, but I do want to do it. And Gianna had a good point. Why do you think I did that?
Because you didn't want to feel like a failure. Mm-hmm. You basically were setting yourself up to not have the production, to not have to do the breastfeeding, because there was something about the breastfeeding that made you feel like you weren't doing it right.
Yes.
Or that you weren't
because
producing
at that point,
enough.
I thought I was doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
I thought I wasn't connecting to Jack. I was postpartum depressed and I was in denial about it. My therapist was like, I think you are depressed. You are.
Yeah.
Depressed. And I was like, also, I'm fine.
It's so hard to make that decision to say, this isn't for me. I'm going to move on. So instead of making that decision, you sabotaged it.
Yes. And made
very
excuses.
Interesting. Very interesting. And I will tell you what, you're not the only person. Guarantee you there's a ton of women that are listening right now that said, I did the same thing, or I did even worse.
And I remember Eric would get so excited for me. Like when I would come down and I would have like 3 ounces, he'd be like, that's awesome. Like he would jack me up all the time. And I'm just like, but I don't. And then with pumping, because I think I was also afraid of mastitis. And I think a part of me wanted my body back. Like I was like, I just want my body back. I want to just go and do my thing. And I want to pump and watch Game of Thrones in my bed and just relax and wind down. And I didn't want to do actual breastfeeding. So I was like, maybe it's going to hurt. Maybe I'm going to get mastitis. Like I just didn't want any more things to worry about, because this is what was just driving me absolutely insane. My head was out of control.
I think the thing that you don't realize until you're in it is how much time it actually takes to do it. Like, even though it's a half-hour pumping session or 20 minutes, whatever it is, there's you got to set up the machines and then you got to put it on and then you got to do it. There's no comfortable way to pump. You can't lay down, because then that's like gravity. Like it's not going to come out. So that's the thing I always remember is now I have to sit here like this, just in an uncomfortable position. And then you got to put the milk away and then you got to label everything. And then you got to wash the parts.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just turns into this whole exercise that when you're already so depleted as it is just not the route that you want to go. Now, the alternative to that, obviously,
intended, but it's another booby trap. Literally.
Correct. The alternative to that, obviously, is, you don't pump and you just have the baby feed off of you whenever you want to feed. I am not the person that can do the feeding every hour. I needed to have some type of break, especially during the night. So my pumping was used to get the liquid for the night so that we could trade off on feedings. And that is just what worked for me.
Did you wake up in the middle of the night to pump more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have an alarm set. I woke up every night at 4:00. I would pump. And if not sooner than that. And then during the day, I would do what I needed to do. And I would still pump in between the feedings that I was doing with him or with Asher. And it just like, you just get to the point sometimes you're like, oh, this is not, because there's no connection. Like, at least if you're breastfeeding a baby, like that to me is like the most incredible feeling in the world, to know that you're providing for your baby and you're cuddling and you're getting that emotional connection. Like, what kind of connection are you getting with a machine? Especially when there's so much room for error. Like you said, like if you produce the 3 ounces and you're like, yes, like how I am so good. I am so proud of myself. Look at what I did to be able to produce this. And then the flip side of that is you get half an ounce and you're like, oh, what the heck did I? Then you're like going through your brain. Did I not eat enough of the cookies today? Did I not massage my breast enough? Did I not do this, that, and the other thing? There are so many variables and so much room for error. That is so much room for you to come down on yourself as a mom that you did something wrong.
Yeah,
it's hard.
More landmines that you're laying. So I want to know the products that you used, because with the first, and Casey Smith and I talked about this on an episode, you had gotten cut off at the time, but we were saying, how much crap do you acquire, especially with the first baby, that you think you need? And I mean, I had every contraption, I had every gadget and gizmo and everything under the sun that you think you need. 14 strollers, 82 car seats, like it's too much. So I had the Spectra and I liked it, but that was like the big
that was
boy.
the insurance issue.
But you're tethered. But there's a new Spectra that came out that is mobile.
Oh, did it?
Portable. Yes.
So
Yana told me about it.
Here's what I recommend. What I did was I had a friend that sent me a list of, and you know what, Casey and I keep talking about this.
It's a very beautiful PDF.
Well, I turned it into the Bible, the baby Bible, which I keep talking about with Casey. I'm like, maybe we should turn this into something more and like publish this for Mother Up. So we'll talk about that. But the section of it about breastfeeding, a friend of mine had sent me a ton of products that she used that they were just from Amazon. And she was like, I recommend getting these and just having them on hand so that if you do decide you want to breastfeed, or, you do have a good journey, that at least you have all of these things. And it was so funny because I didn't know what any of them were. I'm like, what is this tape? What is this lotion? What is this thing? What is this cup that sucks to you? I didn't know what any of it was, but like when I was in the game, so to speak, all of a sudden I was like, oh, that thing would be really helpful. Oh, right. I have it. It's in my pantry because she told me to get it. And so I got like one of each thing to then be able to try it, see how I liked it. And some of it I was like, no, that doesn't work for me. Other things, I love that. I'm using this cream all the time. I need it. I'm ordering 5 more. So that it was like a good way to be like, okay, these are the things that were tried and true and trusted from a friend. Let me see how they fall into my routine. And I can try them because they're right here. And then I can order or reorder or not.
Right.
What I want to talk about with the pump is the first go round, I did the Spectra, and everybody talks about the LV and the Willow, and they're like,
the Willow, I wanted to spike against the floor.
That's my cousin was like,
my cousin Sarah was like, it needs to like learn your breast. So it needs 12 pumps or so. I'm like, I don't have time for you, Willow.
Yeah.
I don't have time for you. I need the milk now. I needed it yesterday.
I kind of was like, listen, I'm not in a scenario where, some of them, they always say about like nurses who can put them in their bras and then go about their job and keep walking around and be able to continue. So for the first one,
like?
I didn't get either of them. So with Sienna, I never got one of the portable ones. I just kept going with the Spectra, and there was a whole other thing to that because Sienna decided on her own that she was done breastfeeding, traumatizing. We'll talk about that. With Asher, that's when I said to you, I'm like, do you like the Willow or the LV better? And you're like, I think I smashed the Willow. I was like, okay,
yes, I liked the LV.
I don't remember who, but there was an influencer who talked about the mom cozy.
Yana told me that one too. Yes.
$100. The Willow and the LV are retailing for like $400 or $500. $100 on Amazon. I got this pump. It
went up because I'm looking at it now. Mom Cozy Pump Free, Hands Free M5 wearable breast pump, $199.99 with a 10% coupon. So 10% off, which is great. Take 10% off.
Maybe there's another like version of it or something.
Listen, Bidenomics, there's a little bit of inflation since you've had Asher, so we're going to just make up for that.
That's also true. But I thought it was great. So point of the story is you don't need the top of the market. You don't need like the most fancy thing that's out there. This product worked. I loved it. It was good for me to at least just feel like I was a little bit mobile and like I didn't have to sit there tethered to the wall and be like, okay, I'm wearing this, but I can do the dishes, or I can run around with Sienna or play with her, or just like go on a walk. Sometimes I even did. So it just gave me a little bit more options. And I do feel like that really helped me. The other thing was, what's that? The haka. I liked that. I liked the haka.
Is that just the one that doesn't do anything? You just put it in your bra.
That's the one that's like silicone that you suction onto your boob. And there would be times where there was just something like so much less invasive about that, of like, I can just put it on there and it goes instead of like all the parts and all the pump, like.
But so you suction it and it just kind of keeps like a tension on your nipple, and it like
pressure,
fills up.
That pressure that it has from the suction, like basically like squeezes out the milk.
Okay.
And so I would sit there, I would prop myself up from behind with pillows, and I would have the haka on, and it would always be like exciting because I took it as like found money, basically. Like it was found ounces because I already did my pumping, and this was like extra. And this was like no effort at all. I just put it on and it happened. And if I got 2 ounces out of it, I remember that's when I was like, oh, I am crushing the game right now because I just got 2 ounces out of a haka, where I know there are some women who get 1 million, but that was good for me. I like some of the like cooling pads, the heating pads. Those helped me like just feel a little bit better.
I put the silver discs on.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about those. I don't know.
One of my baseball friends, Audrey, who has 4, and she said the silver discs were like unbelievable. But if you do think about it, silver is antimicrobial and you know very clean. It's silver and it's like medical grade. So I don't know. I mean, this pregnancy is going to be interesting, or this delivery will be interesting because I'm so much more holistic this pregnancy, and because of that lifestyle switch that I've made, I'm putting more pressure on myself to give it the old college try. And I think I'm going into it thinking that I'm going to have a better headspace. I've also kept a human alive, so I know how to keep a human alive.
Yes.
I'm hoping that, like we've talked about this, but I'm hoping with the second one, that negative self-talk and that really self-destructive behavior that I was subjecting myself to will be lessened. And I will, listen, I'm going to be an open book. This is about to be my therapy session. So I'm excited that we're up and running now because floodgates are open.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. I know. Are we going to live stream the birth? Because I feel like we should.
Yeah, right. Do you want to know what's so crazy is like part of me is like, oh, maybe I'll do like an unmedicated birth. But I'm like, hell no. I want the meds. Well, not by choice.
Not by choice.
Asher was just like, I'm here.
I'm here. You just made me think of something. Oh, I said, and I will say it until I'm blue in the face, Sienna made me a mom. Asher made me a confident mom.
Oh, I love that.
Getting to like put my skills to the test with the second one, I was like, you know what? I do know what I'm doing. Okay. Like I do have this under control. Oh, I do remember this. Oh, I just felt so much more confident in myself as a mom. And that was like the greatest gift that anybody could have given me, and kind of just set me off on a different path for like the rest of both of their lives. Now, don't get me wrong. I still question myself every day, but there was just something
every single day
there was still just something about that second experience, and like, okay, I know what's happening here. Oh, yeah, that's normal. I freaked out over that last time, remember? But now that I know, and now it's okay, and we can just move on. So to me, and I know it's different for a lot of people, that the jump from 0 to 1 was not as hard as from 1 to 2. But for me, the jump from 1 to 2 was not nearly as hard.
That's funny you say that because I have heard both. I have heard 1 to 2, lights out, hands down, so hard. 0 to 1, lights out, so hard. I think 0 to 1 was harder for me personally and Eric, and maybe this is the same for you and Mark, because we were one entity for so long. We were such selfish human beings, and I don't care, I'll say it. Like I was only focused on myself. Self-serving, only worried about myself, obviously worried about my partner, but like
that gets stripped away
so long.
Whereas going from 1 to 2, like that it's already gone.
Everyone says that's what I 2 said. To 3, 3 to they go anything after 2, you don't give a shit. They're like, it is chaos and you just don't care.
Somebody I was saying, was talking, a friend actually asked me point blank last night, was like, should I have another kid? She has one. And I was like, yes, you absolutely should. Yeah. She's like, I just feel like it's so much right now. And I'm like,
how old is her first?
Asher's age.
Oh, okay. So she's in it. She's still in the thick of it.
Right. Yeah, I feel like it's so much right now. And I'm like, right. So that's a perfect time to do it. Like it's going to be so much. It's already so much. Like
I have a question for you,
like
though.
You said, the selfish age or selfish phase. Why can't I speak?
Because you have two kids.
Correct.
And you're moving.
All of my brain cells were used up last night when Sienna was throwing up in the middle of the night. Right. The selfish phase to being completely consumed, but then you're being completely consumed and then you're adding another thing that's completely consuming you. And it's like, okay, we're just like on the tractor's already set up in the back. Just hop on. We'll add another pumpkin to it.
Correct.
So I've definitely been in my feels lately, and it makes me really happy that I have a therapist that I know and love and trust, because I just can't imagine going through life without a therapist at this point. You actually had me laughing so hard, Casey. I was listening to one of our episodes and you reference your therapy.
Therapy, it's the plural of therapist. I made it up and it sticks. So I have 3 currently.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shame in our game. We think that therapy and mental health services are so important. So grateful that BetterHelp is a sponsor of the show. We want to make sure that you and our audience has access to it as well. All you have to do is go to betterhelp.com/motherup and you can get access to licensed therapists who are trained to listen and give you that helpful, unbiased advice. I mean, I know that you have us, but unfortunately we can't directly talk to you through the podcast, but you go to their site, you answer a few questions, and they match you to somebody who has years of experience, who is helping people just like you in a way that fits you. So whether it's somebody that is faith-based, or if you prefer a certain gender, I mean, they really get specific in how they can select a therapist for you. You do it all from your phone or computer, video calls, phone calls, messaging,
and
however you feel
demand.
the most comfortable. You'll be matched with somebody usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast for those issues that really just can't wait. So thank you to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Let them connect you to a therapist who could support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/motherup and enjoy a discount of 10% off of your first month on us.
I want to ask you though, you mentioned something, and I was talking to Casey Smith about it. I'm in a mom's group with all my girlfriends from college, and we just chat about everything from Motrin dosage to
like a text group, right?
Yeah, like a text group.
Like you've talked about this before, yeah.
And someone said, "Oh, my baby's having 3 ounces, but every 2 hours, or they're having 6, whatever." It was like an ounces question. And I was like, I am not going to even try to take a whack at this because I have no recollection. So will that come rushing back? Because if I took a quiz right now, if they're like, okay, ma'am, in order to take this baby home from the hospital, we're going to quiz you on everything that happened with Jack, I would be like, call my mom because she's going to have to take her because I don't know any of these answers.
It's not that there was it came rushing back, but it was I looked up the information, and then as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. It was, and to your point, you're just more confident. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, going back to breastfeeding, you said, you did like pumping, correct? Or you did not like pumping? No, I didn't.
I don't think anybody likes pumping.
Okay, here's why I would like pumping. Go ahead.
Then I got to a point where I bribed myself. There were a couple funny Instagram accounts that I found around that time, and they were keeping me alive and pop culture and just funny memes and whatever. So I used to tell myself, you are not allowed to watch their stories until you're pumping. So it was it gave me something to look forward to, or listening to an ebook or a podcast or something. And I would be like, that is reserved for the time that I'm pumping. So then I would look forward to doing it. So then I kind of got into it. There are other times where it depends on who you're with, right? If we had people over or friends over and I was I have to go pump, and I'm I'm having such a good conversation with my cousin. I don't want to step away right now. But then there were other times if there are other people and I'm just I'm drained, I need to step away. And I'd be like, oh, sorry, gotta go pump, gotta go do my thing. So it's it kind of gave you an out, an excuse sometimes, but other times would be I feel like everybody gets to stay and hang out and be fun, but I am going to go into this other dark room and go
Which
pump.
is kind of nice. It's kind of nice. The thing for me is I'm so type A and I'm such a control freak. And I do have a journal that I keep. And this is a thing that my mom did back in the 90s with me and then with all the kids. And it's good to take to the pediatrician. Bowel movements, when they tinkle, how long they're sleeping, how many ounces, when they're drinking.
There's an app for that.
There's like I forget what it's called, but it's like a board and it has buttons on it. And you push the button for what happens. Interesting. Like it goes right to your phone, but you like push the dump button when the baby takes a dump, and then like it goes right to your phone.
It goes to your phone. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes,
okay.
It's like
link that in the show notes for people.
I need to find it. Yeah.
There's another app. And again, by the way, we have our Amazon storefront set up. So anything that we're talking about today, we'll make sure is linked there that you can go and find that. But there's this app that you can link it with your partner or whoever, with a nanny or, your mom, whoever's helping you take care of the baby.
And they can just add in journal and entry.
They add it. Everything that you add gets it gets
synced
put together.
Up. That's a great idea. I want to do pumping because the control freak in me doesn't know how many ounces they're getting. And with Jack, he lost weight right away. He was only 6'11" when he was born, then he lost weight. So, they obviously want to make sure they're staying getting back to their birth weight.
You were talking about being a failure. Did I like pumping? No. Did I like it when I was getting 4 ounces per boob? Loved it because I felt like
because you can open the fridge and you're like, look at that lineup.
Yeah,
baby.
but like I said earlier, the second I got like half an ounce, I was like, this sucks. I hate this because you feel like a failure. It's a.
And one thing about excess breast milk that I actually just saw online, do you know that you can send it away and they'll make soap out of it?
That they can make a whole bunch of things out of it.
Yeah, but that's cool. Like there are so many cool things nowadays. This has nothing to do with breastfeeding and is so random, but I need to share it because it is so cool. If it rains on your wedding
Casey's
day.
ADHD is here. Hi, welcome.
Hey, if it rains on your wedding day, collect the water from your wedding day, filter it, like purify it, and then you can use it for your baby's baptism.
Whoa.
Isn't that a cool idea?
Okay.
That's pretty cool. I felt like I needed to share that.
Okay. It didn't rain on my wedding day. It didn't rain on yours either.
No. But It's just cool. It's just a cool thing that I felt like I should share on this podcast.
Got it. Noted. Okay.
Anyway, back to boobies.
So I want to tell you what happened with Sienna, which was like a very griefy time for me, which griefy is a word. I learned that in all my grief with my dad. It's probably one of my favorite words, feeling a little griefy. I always had people tell me that like your experience is going to be whether you want to breastfeed or whether you don't. And it's your choice and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, there's this whole message that pushes you more towards breastfeeding these days. I didn't feel any pressure, but I just felt like, this is something I absolutely want to do. And I had Sienna in the middle of COVID. I was working virtually. And I said to myself, I always kind of set this goal out of nowhere. I don't know why. I set this goal of, maybe it was because I think my mom breastfed me for 6 months. So I said, okay, I want to do the same. I want to breastfeed for 6 months. I think I'll feel really proud of myself if I make it that far. Again, having no idea what hard meant when people said it's hard to do. I just thought it was like, oh, it's time consuming, or, oh, you have to like put your boob out in public. Like that's what I thought hard meant. I didn't understand the mental capacity that went with it, the physical things, all that. So, and not getting your body back like you were talking about before. So I then started saying to myself, I could very hopefully do 6 months, but now that I'm working virtually, I could keep this going for a year. This could actually be like the best thing ever. Thank you, COVID. Little Sienna, who is everything that you've heard on this podcast. She is her own woman. She is an independent woman. She knows what she wants. At 10 weeks old, she decided she was done. And I wasn't producing a ton. So could it just be that she was starving? Sure. Or could it just be like she just like didn't want it anymore? She didn't want to latch. And I remember we hired a lactation consultant. We had to do again virtually. So it's like, how much help can they really give you? Because they're not there like helping her latch and whatever. But we had to do it virtually because of the pandemic. And we'll never forget it because Mark and I use this like all the time. The lactation consultant said, well, it appears she's asserting her independence, which is something she has certainly done every day since then. But I was devastated from it because I truly felt rejected from her, that I was already grieving the fact that she was out of my body. I was grieving that I was the only thing that would provide for her and that like other people could hold her. Like that was really hard. And then, so like now not only did she like want to fly the coop, but now she didn't even want to come home for dinner. And it was really, really difficult for me because I had never been told that it might be the baby's choice. It was always put into my basket as if I was going to decide how long I got to breastfeed for. And the fact that it wasn't my choice was really difficult. But because of everything that I learned in my grief, I knew, and like, you know, then I felt really guilty of like, how could I feel sad about this when I should just be so grateful and so happy that I have this baby? And like I said, because of things I've learned in my grief, I knew that joy and grief can coexist. And it was okay for me to feel both things. So I just tried to like hold on to that for a little bit and realize that like my baby's getting the care that she needs. She's getting the nutrients that she needs from the formula. That doesn't make me, that is best. It doesn't make me a bad mom. And look at all the other ways that I'll be able to connect with her now that I'm not off in the room pumping, or I am feeling a little bit more like myself, or I'm wearing regular clothes that just make me feel comfortable because I'm not trying to pump everywhere. So it ended up working out, but still was a really difficult thing. And then when it came time for Asher, I wouldn't say the same thing happened because I was producing a lot more than I did with Sienna. And then it was like vice versa. It was like with Sienna, I wasn't producing enough and she was too hungry. With Asher, I was producing so much, but he had really bad reflux and really bad colic and like couldn't eat that well. So that was a weird thing. And again, it was hard for me. And my mom started talking to me just like really early about it and was just like,
did you ever
be
take
so
either
proud of what your body
to a
did.
myofunctional therapist?
No, I don't even know what that is.
So that is, you know, like the muscles around your face, and it could be tied to like tongue tie. So I know tongue ties, you know, like it's not necessarily like your tongue is flipped, but
she's pointing to that thing underneath your tongue.
You can have one up top here.
Oh,
and
one underneath your lip too, top lip.
The whole, you know, the whole development of your facial structure.
Yeah, I think I looked into that. I think there's a lot of like, I think it's kind of like the helmet situation. Like, you know, that, which is something we should talk about because you did choose to do a helmet with Jack. We chose not to with Asher. I think they're both like the kind of thing.
But you did physical therapy with Asher.
We did.
Yeah. So you did something. Like it didn't just go away. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
But the thought process on the helmet is like, one camp is like, you have to do it. It does everything. And the other camp is like, the baby's skull is going to shape itself anyway. And I think it's kind of like the same thing with the tongue ties and the stuff that you're talking about. Some people are very much against, it's like child mutilation to like cut the tongue tie, where others are like, no, you absolutely have to, or they're going to be deformed. So it's kind of like, you know, you just have to look into the information yourself and make the decision that you feel.
But that's best. An alternative, like way of thinking, you know, if the baby isn't latching or if there is an issue, you know, go down that rabbit hole of more, I guess, naturopathic results. Do you want me to talk about the questions that we got asked?
Yes. Let's get into that. Anyway, I just want to wrap up my story by saying I'm so grateful that I even had the chance to breastfeed. I know there are many women that don't get that opportunity. And it just was very surprising to me how much more emotionally intertwined it was than I expected. And I, like you, I feel like so many women like feel like a little bit of a failure because things didn't go certain ways, but I'm just grateful for that experience. So anyway, on to the questions.
But I'm very proud of you, I must say.
Thank you. And I'm proud of you. And I'm excited to see what happens this time. And like, whatever happens, happens.
Yes. I'm going
whatever
with the flow.
happens. Your body's already been through so much.
Best way to wean from breastfeeding to avoid hormone crash. I'm going to let you take that one.
So once I decided to stop breastfeeding Asher, I don't really remember what happened with Sienna, but I was kind of adamant about like, but I want to pump for him. I'm pumping so much. Like that was the thing with Sienna. Didn't really have that option, but with Asher, I was producing so much, I should say, that I was like, I'm basically going to just do this until it runs out. Like I felt strongly about like, I'm not just going to like turn off the faucet. I'm going to wait until the faucet like runs out or like dries up basically. So I guess that's the way that I weaned. Like I maybe wasn't pumping as much and I went down from maybe like 4 times a day to 3 times a day to 2 times a day. And then it just got to the point where I was like, well, I guess that was it. Like, I don't know if I ever remembered saying like, this is the last time I'm pumping. Like, I think I just let my body
I feel like it's
kind
so
of lead the way.
Person to person too.
Yeah.
So that's also the variable. But yeah, I mean, I would say try to find as much support as you can and just throw stuff at the wall. How about how much focus goes into timing the feeds? It seems very distracting to me. So I guess it's just a question on, again, it's another layer of things to worry about of timing your feeds and getting on a schedule and getting on a routine. Like we didn't really have Jack on a schedule or a routine. So some people thrive on schedules. Moms on Call is one that I know a lot of my friends have suggested. And that gives you a sample schedule, per chunk of age grouping, like I think it's like every 4 months or every 4 weeks is a different schedule. I think it's just like a personal thing, right?
I don't know. I think there are schedules that are like they really work and that's what's good for the baby. I think a lot of it fell into like the sleep pattern too, because we followed what was it? Let me see if I do this right. Eat, play, sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So they would wake up from their nap, they would eat right away, and then they would play, and then they were supposed to put them right to sleep.
I think that's the Moms on Call method.
The one that I followed was from Sleepful Baby.
Okay.
She used to be baby sleep doctor, but now she's
I think you sent that to me.
Sleepful Baby, yeah. Because the point is they're not supposed to fall asleep after feeding. Like you want them to fall asleep after playing, so you want to feed them as soon as they wake up, basically. And then it's like if their wake windows are you go off of the wake windows. It does get confusing. It is very distracting. I fully understand what this audience member is saying because there's so many, it's like a math problem. There's so many different equations that go into it. And then it's like, well, they're not settling. Maybe I should feed them again. And then they're eating. You're like, what the heck? You just ate X amount of ounces a few hours ago. I thought you were supposed to nap now. Like that definitely throws it off. But I think to your point, like, your baby, yourself, or maybe you don't because you just met each other. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like it took me a long time to figure Jack out for sure.
Yeah. I think it's okay though to not stick to a strict schedule. Like certainly I don't want moms feeling like, oh my gosh, we missed this feeding because he needed another one in between. Like, am I doing something wrong? You're not doing something wrong. Like you'll know your baby. If the baby's hungry, you just feed them and then try to get on the schedule. But if you stray from it, it's okay.
The next one was pumps and then freeze-dried milk. We talked about pumps already, but freeze-dried breast milk, I don't know where you can get that. And I don't know. Is that creeps me out.
Freeze-dried breast milk. Yeah. I don't know anything about it really.
But I have some formulas that I've been researching if that's, the route that I end up going.
Yes, because there was another. So I used Enfamil for both of my babies, the Gentle Ease Neuro Pro. It's supposed to be like the one of the gentlest on the stomach for the kids. That's what we used. This was prior my Casey Hosmer days where I was told about the toxins in everything. So and forgive me for using that.
Well, Jack was on Similac for a year. I mean, I did the same thing. Yeah, Jack was because that's what they gave me in the hospital. And then we just stayed with that. And I unfortunately had a baby in the middle of the formula shortage.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
Burning down factories. And, I had to find it anywhere and everywhere. Designed by Nature Kids is a goat milk option.
Is it Cabri?
What's that?
Oh no, it's just called Designed by Nature.
Designed by Nature.
Oh, that's the brand.
I think this one is one that's labeled for kids because I believe there are a lot of hoops business-wise and also monetarily that you have to jump through to get approved for infants. But I think it's safe for infants. Do your homework on that one. Another brand is Bobbie, Bobbie, that a lot of people
I've
like.
Heard of that. And that's another European one, right? We're saying all this because one of the questions that came in from you ladies is the fact that European formulas have banned ingredients that the U.S. uses. So yeah, a
like
lot of
they
people go
don't
overseas.
contain them. Yes, Europe has banned them.
Yeah.
And they don't contain them, and the US puts them in. The other one is By Heart, one word, BYHEART. Bubs Organic is another one. Sammy's Milk, Serenity.
Okay, so I'll tell you
huge.
a huge
HIPP.
a huge mistake that I made, and please don't make this mistake, is so somebody did tell us maybe he's allergic to the milk, maybe you should try goat milk. And I think there was this one called Cabri or something. So we got that. I, worst mom of the century, didn't know that you're supposed to mix them a little bit first to get them used to the taste, and just full on raw dogged it and gave them the bottle, and poor baby threw up everywhere.
Oh, you know what's weird is Jack would throw up from powdered Similac and get diarrhea, and from the pre-made Similac he would not.
Well, I think that's fair. But I
think it's different ingredients. I mean,
we were strictly on the pre-made stuff at first, because that's what one of the nurses had told us, is that like that's the least agitating to the stomach is the one that's pre-made. So we did that too. We're putting
the last one I want to talk about is Holly.
Baby girl Hosmer is falling asleep.
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard of that one as well.
That's goat milk too.
Yeah.
And Bubs. I don't know if I said that. BUBS. But all of these, so going back to seed oils, every single one of these contains seed oils. Every single one of these contains something, whether it's vegetable or palm or
even the overseas ones.
Yes.
Wow, interesting. Okay.
Yes, they're better, but they all still contain the seed oils, and you know you just have to fed is best again. But the reason why they're better is like the European ones don't have the pesticides, or they don't have the glyphosate. I mean, we had her on. It's just running rampant. But you're looking for grass fed. You're looking for pasture raised. You're looking for coconut oil and non-GMO. You know, those kind of things are what you really need to prioritize. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is maybe get one of each of these, or like one of 3 of them. And when I do supplement, because I do think I'm going to supplement, see which one she takes to the best.
But that's what I'm saying. Be careful with that, because if you start switching them like that, she's going to get used to the taste of one, and then they freak out and they get sick.
The only one that I've seen that doesn't have seed oils is Serenity A2 Toddler, but that's for toddlers. I mean, that's not for infants. So you're still kind of up the river without a paddle.
One of the questions that came in, somebody asked what our thoughts are on mom shaming when choosing to formula feed. Did you experience any of that? Did anybody make comments about you formula feeding?
Me
neither.
1%. No.
I'd like to think that maybe we're getting to like the other side of the coin. I feel like in our parents' generation, it was very much like breastfeeding. Yes. You can't formula feed. And that like now it's like kind of understood, like, okay, well, maybe that's not the best choice for the woman. Yeah. But I'm sure maybe it's a cultural thing too. I don't really know. If that affects it, it could. But I certainly just want to say to you, if that's something that you're experiencing, I'm sorry. And people shouldn't treat you like that or shouldn't say that to you. It's a very personal choice. And Casey and I were both in the formula feeding bucket pretty early on in our journey. So we're right there with you.
I'm just checking to make sure we don't have any more write-ins. Any more questions?
There was one that said the anxiety along with breastfeeding, which I feel like we kind of addressed. Certainly.
What glass bottles are lead-free and best for baby? I used
You sent me a really good one lately that I used.
It was probably Lead Safe Mama. Oh, the sippy cups. Yeah, the glass ones.
Yeah, but they come in with like a bottle top and a sippy cup top.
Yes.
Started with like an H, I think.
I forget what it's called. It's on my Amazon.
Yeah, we'll put it on Amazon.
I definitely have it linked under Casey's Baby Essentials. I do have it linked there. They come in blue and purple. And the replacement nipples, because Jack just started eating the nipples, like chewing on them, so there's holes in them. Nook makes a nipple that fits perfectly in the adapter. So you can replace the nipples. I use the Avent glass bottles for Jack, and I'll use those again for the new baby. I mean, you can make yourself crazy and like look for something that's glass with a rubber nipple instead of a silicone. I'm not going that crazy. I'm doing the glass. And that's, that's where I'm kind of going to rest my head.
I mean, you can make yourself crazy and then you're going to look over and they're licking dirt. So like,
correct.
Whatever.
Correct. So that's, I think that's all I have until like put a pin in it, because, 2 months from now, I will have more insight into.
That's true.
That's
true. Yeah. We'll have to get an update on how your hopeful breastfeeding journey is going then.
But I did look up the ingredients to those lactation cookies that I loved so much.
Okay.
It's pretty horrible.
Oh.
It's like bad.
Everything has it's straight seed oil.
Palm oil, soy lectin, natural flavor, more natural flavor, sodium acid pyrophosphate, sodium bicarbonate, like sunflower lectin. Like I don't know.
Okay, well then I'll give you this other one that you can do. It's
recipe.
Like oats, peanut butter or almond butter, whatever type of nut butter, and honey and chocolate chips, and you just like mold them into little balls. But the oats are supposed to help the milk production, but then you can also put in brewer's yeast in there.
Okay.
And that's what really helps too.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah. So we'll post that. Alrighty. Love you all.